Who pooped in the park? This is about Grand Canyon National Park. Everything poops, so let's see who pooped in the park. Dad, I have to go to the bathroom, Michael squirmed in the back seat. We'll be at our campground in just a little while, said Dad. We're in Grand Canyon National Park now. He's just nervous, said Michael's sister. He thinks a mountain lion's going to eat him. She growled at Michael and made her fingers look like claws. Stop it, Emily, said Mom. Nobody is getting eaten by anything. Michael was very excited about the trip, but Emily was right. He was nervous. He had just read a book about big cats, and mountain lions scared him. He was afraid that a hungry mountain lion would eat just about anything, maybe even a boy. I am kind of scared of mountain lions, admitted Michael. Don't worry, Dad told him. Mountain lions tend to stay away from people. Besides, we're going to show you how to learn all about them without ever getting close. Here's our campsite. Let's set up the tent. Then we can go for a walk and I'll show you what I mean, Dad said. Michael was awfully worried about mountain lions, but tried not to show it. Let's hurry, said Emily. I want to see some animals. Once the tent was set up, the whole family went on a hike. Emily started to complain before they even left the campground. I haven't seen any animals yet. Maybe there aren't any here. Sure they are, said Dad. Let's see what we can learn about them from their sign. Sign, said Michael. You mean like a sign at the zoo? Mule deer, mountain lion, great horned owl. Not quite. I'm talking about signs that the animal has been around, Dad explained. See all that bark stripped off of that tree? That's a sign of a porcupine having his lunch. Look around the base of the tree and I bet we'll find more sign. The straight poop. Porcupines love to eat bark. Sometimes they'll climb a tree and eat the bark all the way around, killing the tree. Michael was starting to get excited. Look, I found tracks. Yes, said Mom, those are porcupine tracks. See the marks where he dragged his tail behind him? And there's porcupine scat over here, said Dad. Scats? Asked Emily, looking a little less grumpy. What's scat? It's the word hikers and trackers use for animal poop, Dad replied. See, Michael, said Dad, we don't have to get up close to an animal to learn about it. Instead of a close encounter of the scary kind, we have a close encounter of the poopy kind. Everybody laughed, and Mom made a grossed out face. Dad, Mom, look over here. I found bunny scat, yelled Michael. It's just what we have. It's just like what we have in Fluffy's cage. We came all the way to the Grand Canyon National Park for that, grumbled Emily. Michael's bunny makes plenty of poop at home. The straight poop. Desert cottontail rabbits often poop on logs and stumps, which they use as lookout posts at night. Good, Michael, and there's deer scat over here too, said Mom. How can you tell the difference, asked Michael. Bunny scat looks like little round balls, added Dad. Deer scat is shaped more like jelly beans. There's deer scat in the spring and summer, and rabbit scat, and deer scat in the fall and winter, and jelly beans. The straight poop. Rabbits eat their own scat in order to get as much nutrition from their food as they can. The round balls you sometimes find are food that has been through twice. Are these deer tracks? Michael asked. Yes, said Mom. See how they're split? They have hooves with two parts. What are these marks with them? Asked Emily. She was starting to get interested. Those are from its dew claws, said Mom. They're little claws behind the hoof. Dew claws sometimes show in deer tracks in soft ground. Lots of other animals have dew claws too, including cats and dogs. Oh no, said Michael. Here's one of his antlers. Did a mountain lion eat him? Michael looked around nervously. Dad bent down by the antler. No, he's fine. Deer shed their antlers every winter and then grow a new, bigger set the next year. The straight poop. Female deer, elk, and moose don't grow antlers. Reindeers are the only members of the deer family in which both males and females have antlers. This deer was in a hurry, though, said Mom, as she studied the ground. Michael and Emily went over to look. How can you tell? Said Michael. The hoof prints get very apart here, Mom explained, and the back prints are in front of the front prints. He was walking backwards, said Emily. Mom replied, no, he was galloping. Something scared him and he was moving fast. See, here's galloping and here's walking. Sometimes deer bounce along with all 4 feet hitting the ground together. This is called stotting or pronking. I know what scared him, Dad called. The family hurried over to look. This is coyote scat, Dad said, and there are coyote tracks all around here. They look like dog tracks, said Michael. That's because the coyote is a member of the dog family, explained Dad. Coyote scat often has hair and bits of bone in it that their bodies can't digest. They eat just about anything they can catch and steal food from other predators, too. You can tell what a coyote's been eating by examining the scat. There were a lot of coyotes around here, said Mom. See how the adults left big tracks and the pups left smaller ones? Their den is probably nearby. I bet they scared the deer away, Dad guessed. Did the coyotes get him? Michael asked. I don't think so, said Mom. Look, the deer are over there, and so are the coyotes. Here's the coyotes, and here's the deer. Here are some other tracks to take a look at, Dad said. They're like deer tracks, but a lot smaller and not as pointy. What are they? Emily asked. Collared peccaries, said Mom. That's a funny name, Emily giggled. What's a peccary? They're kind of like wild pigs. If you see any, don't get close. They can be mean. Many people living in the Southwest call this animal javelina, which is the name for it in Mexico. What are these white streaks on the rocks over here? Asked Michael. That's called guano, said Dad. I know what that is, exclaimed Emily. We learned about it in school. Guano is bat poop. Right, said Dad. Here in Grand Canyon National Park, you can find 20 different types of bat. They aren't vampires, are they? Said Michael with a shudder. No, these vampires eat mostly bugs and fruit, said Dad. There are no vampire bats around here. These are long-eared myotis bats. Like most bats, they sleep hanging upside down and like to perch in caves, trees, and holes in the rock. Is this more bat poop? Said Michael, looking at a tree. No, said Mom. It's from an owl. See those tracks with 2 toes pointing forward and 2 pointing backward and the owl pellets around the base of the tree? Bat guano and some types of bird guano make good plant food. People buy bags of it to put in their gardens to make their plants healthy. Owl pellets, said Emily. Owls eat their prey whole, explained Mom. The parts they can't digest, like hair and bones, get coughed up in a pellet like this. Yuck, said Emily. Owls eat all kinds of small animals, including lizards and birds. Mice and other rodents are favorites. Owls see very well at night, but they aren't blind during the day like some people believe. They see just fine then, too. You can tell this was a big owl by the size of the tracks and the pellets, said Mom. The bigger the owl, the bigger the owl pellets. There are a bunch of different owls in Grand Canyon National Park, said Dad. My favorite is the great horned owl. That's a funny-looking track, Dad, said Michael. It has more toes than the coyote track, and an extra part in the back, too. The extra pad in the back gives it away, said Dad. These are from a ringtail. They're often called ringtail cats or civet cats, but ringtails aren't really cats. They're closely related to raccoons. Here it is. Emily's eyes lit up. Ringtails are cool. I love their big eyes and long tails. Do you think we'll see one? Probably not, replied Mom. Ringtails are nocturnal, which means they sleep all day and come out at night. Look, everyone, Michael called out. These tracks have 4 toes. There must have been more coyotes here. That's not a coyote track, said Dad. It doesn't show any claw marks, and the front on the big pad looks dented in. It's a bobcat track, said Mom. Since cats can retract their claws, their tracks don't show claw marks. The only dog that doesn't show claw marks is a gray fox. Their claws are so small and sharp that they can climb trees like a cat. There's the coyote track and the bobcat track. Here's another track just like it over here, said Michael, but this one is huge. That's because the cat that made it is a lot bigger, replied Mom. You found your mountain lion sign, bobcat. Let's see what you learned today, said Dad. What can you figure out about this cat? I see a bunch of scratch marks on this tree trunk, said Emily. I think he used it as a scratching post to sharpen his claws. Is this mountain lion scat? Said Michael. Asked Michael. It sure is, said Dad. He tried to bury it, but the ground is too hard right here. It has bits of hair in it, just like the coyote scat, Michael pointed out. They definitely eat meat. Mountain lions may be the biggest cats in North America, but they still bury their scat just like a house cat. He's awfully big, she said. That's right, Mom said. A mountain lion weighs as much as I do, and a big one can weigh more than Dad. As they ate dinner that night, everyone talked about how much fun they'd had. We didn't see very many animals, said Emily, but it seemed like we did. And I didn't get scared once, said Michael. And there's tracks and scat notes for the bobcat and the collared peccary and the coyotes and the desert cottontail, the great horned owl, the long-haired myotis bats, mountain lion, mule deer, porcupine, ringtail. And there's the author and the illustrator. And that was called Who Pooped in the Park? About Grand Canyon National Park. Hope you enjoyed that. Give it a like and subscribe.